Hi, I'm Matt Jamie, and I'm the founder and owner of Bourbon Barrel Foods, and this show is called Eat Your Bourbon. Eat Your Bourbon is a tagline that we started using about 10 years ago, and it has become the name of our marketplace. Directly next door to the Eat Your Bourbon marketplace is Bourbon Barrel Foods. In both those stores, you'll find over 150 of the products that we make. We have a lot of drink specials at Eat Your Bourbon Marketplace. One of the most popular ones is the $5 Old Fashioned, which is available open to close. So if you're gonna do a lot of shopping, you wanna loosen yourself up a little bit, go grab an Old Fashioned, go grab a mimosa. This time of year, gift boxes are extremely popular. These gift boxes that we sell at our retail store and on our website have a culinary theme, sometimes a cocktail theme, but everything you're gonna need, ingredient-wise, is gonna be in that box. So I'm gonna receive one of our gift boxes, and it's gonna be one that's pretty special to me. It's got a nice local tie here to the city of Louisville. Something that I'm extremely passionate about is our local food history, and we've got a very rich history and heritage with that, and this time we're very fortunate to have that. One of the things we like to say around the office is, it's not the holidays unless there's some Henry Bains on the table. The sauce is really, really special. The box that I'm gonna open is gonna be this one right here, and this is the kit to make our Henry Bain's meatballs. It comes with a recipe, it's very thorough, and it comes with the other spices that you're gonna need to make this. It has our bourbon smoked citrus pepper, which is our twist on a modern classic. It has our bourbon smoked garlic sea salt, another twist, and then our bourbon barrel aged Worcestershire. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna receive one of our gift boxes. I'm gonna cook with it. I'm gonna show you exactly how easy it is to work. Can't wait to make it for you. I'll see you when we get back. I don't know about everybody else, but I always give gifts that I would like to receive, and that's finally coming my way. A lot of people give my gifts. I don't think I've ever really received one, so this is gonna be a special moment for me. I am receiving this box right here, and this is to make our Henry Bain's meatballs. It's fancy ribbon here. Got my recipe. This will be helpful for you. And then inside, we've got our Henry Bain's, the famous original Henry Bain's. We have our bourbon smoked garlic sea salt. We have our bourbon smoked citrus pepper. Each of these are twists on modern classics like citrus pepper, garlic salt. These just have been smoked. There's gonna be a little hint of orange zest in there. One of my favorite ingredients in spice blends is fennel, so there's gonna be a little bit of fennel seed in there. And then we've got our bourbon barrel aged Worcestershire sauce. Now this is a vegetarian Worcestershire sauce. Sweetened with a little bit of sorghum, bourbon barrel aged, some apple cider vinegar in there. This is actually one of my very first products that we sold. So that's what we have right there. The star of this show is gonna be the Henry Bain's. We worked really hard to recreate this. And one of the most fascinating things I found was that pickled walnuts are yes, the most important ingredient in here, but Henry Bain actually used A1 in his sauce. It's older than Henry Bain's. When developing this, we were able to remove all of the preservatives and the high fructose corn syrup. And that was kind of hard to do with A1 because the way A1 is made now isn't the way it was made 150 years ago. Ingredients matter when we're making anything. So I'm gonna start this with some really great bread that I buy right down the street from my store. This is the Fred bread from Blue Dog Bakery. We're gonna need 2 slices of this. I know the recipe says to cut the crust off, but what are we gonna do with the crust when we cut it off? So I don't wanna waste it. I'm gonna leave it on this time. I think it's perfectly fine to do so. I've got my 2 slices right here. I'm not even gonna cut them up. I'm gonna put them in this bowl. We're gonna pour some milk over it. There's measurements on the recipe card. I've been doing this long enough to where I know what a 1/4 cup looks like. Even if it's a little more, it's okay. So we got our milk on here. I'm gonna get my hands dirty today. And this is something that I would do with my daughter when she was little, not so much anymore. She doesn't like to, I don't know what it is as they get older, but getting your hands dirty while you're cooking just stops being a thing. So we want to just get this to absorb as much of the milk as we can. It'll take up all of it. It's like a sponge, especially this Fred's bread. All right, so we're making a paste with this. I'm gonna let it get there. I'm gonna mash it up a little bit more. Just squeeze it together. You can see what's happening there. I mean, you're just squeezing it through. You could use breadcrumbs, but not in this recipe. We want the milk, we want this bread. It's not toasted. I'm just squeezing it together, getting all that milk in there, because that's rich. There we go, okay? Like I said, I'm gonna get my hands dirty today. Put that to the side for right now. Get my other bowl right here. This is where I'm gonna put my meat. Now, we use a mixture of beef and pork. Pork is gonna add some of the fat that we want in this meatball. It's got some onions in it as well. The recipe will call for a medium onion. Well, if you don't have a reference point on an onion, try and show you one here. These would probably both be considered medium onion. I go for this size. Not always cooking for a large group of people. This always ends up being plenty for me. This is okay. I won't have any waste if I use this one. All right, so I got my onion chopped here. Got my parsley. I'm gonna drop in my pork. It's a ½ pound of pork, equal proportions here. ½ pound of the beef. I need an egg, okay? It says 1 large egg. Honestly, any egg will work on this. Don't stress over the small stuff. Here we go. 1 1/4 teaspoons of our garlic salt. You know what? Like, I'm sure we all have these. Again, I'm gonna eyeball it. That looks about right to me. This is a ½ teaspoon of our bourbon smoked citrus pepper. That's about right. Yeah, I think so. Our Worcestershire sauce, okay? Give it a shake. It has a tendency to settle. We got 2 tablespoons of this going in here. 1, 2, okay? I'm gonna get my hands dirty again. This mixture is gonna go right in here. And we're just gonna take this all together like this. It's kind of therapeutic. It's fun. Getting your hands nice and wet and dirty puts you in touch with the food that you're getting ready to eat. Maybe not. But these are the type of activities that I would do when my kids were little, when they didn't know what to be afraid of, you know, with raw chicken or raw pork. Just put them over there and say, I need you to squeeze this stuff together. All right. It's gonna look like this, okay? Mushy. We're gonna put this in the refrigerator and let it chill for a little while. And when we come back, I'm gonna form the meatballs, I'm gonna fry them up, put them in the oven, and then I'm gonna serve them to you. Pulled this out, I'm gonna form our meatballs, I'm gonna fry them up. I got the skillet going on medium heat here. 2 tablespoons of olive oil in here. These are gonna render some fat, so that'll allow it to brown and help it cook as well. We use a non-stick skillet here on set. Bare hands on this one. You can use a melon baller if you want to control the size. Not 100% necessary. It all comes down to your own personal preference and how uniform you want those meatballs to be. About that size I think is good enough. Right there. So that's what we have right there. The star of this show is going to be the Henry Bains, the Pendennis Club famous original Henry Bains. Now this sauce has a lot of history in the city of Louisville. Henry Bain was an actual person. He was the captain at the Pendennis Club. And we did a lot of research about Henry Bain. He was quite the entrepreneur, and he's actually buried just across the river in New Albany. We've been over there to do an offering with some of the smaller bottles for him. You know, this recipe is over 100 years old. I would say probably close to 150 years old. And it was designed to complement game. You can think back all that time. There are certain things that we might not even think about now, like how game meat tastes. And so there's some vinegar in here. You know, we make our own chutney. There's some chili paste in here as well. Most important ingredient, pickled walnuts and that malt vinegar that they're pickled in. Pickled walnuts aren't something that are very common in the US. And if you go around town and you see the other varieties, other brands of Henry Bain's that are out there, make sure, if you're not buying mine, you're at least buying one that uses pickled walnuts in it. We worked really hard to recreate this. And one of the most fascinating things I found was that pickled walnuts are yes, the most important ingredient in here, but Henry Bain actually used A1 in his sauce. It's older than Henry Bain's. When developing this, we were able to remove all of the preservatives and the high fructose corn syrup. And that was kind of hard to do with A1 because the way A1 is made now isn't the way it was made 150 years ago. So we buy a version of it that does not have the high fructose corn syrup in it. So we got the skillet on medium-high heat. We got our 2 tablespoons of olive oil in there. Formed the meatballs. Just gonna give them a little brown on as many sides as I can. They are balls, so they might roll around. Just, you know, I can hear them. And a little help there. Just wanna brown them up. We're not gonna cook them all the way in this skillet. And so we're just cooking these long enough so that they brown quite a bit. We're gonna toss them in some Henry Bain sauce before we put them on a sheet pan and bake them. I wanna make sure they're cooked enough so that they don't break apart while I'm tossing them around. It's not gonna be a violent motion, but we're gonna be moving them. And if they're not cooked enough, they will have a tendency to break apart, and then you'll have like a Henry Bain's bolognese. All right, so we got our meatballs browned here. I'm gonna toss them in a little bit of Henry Bain's. So got the heat turned off. I'm gonna put them in this bowl here. All right, skillet aside. The original Henry Bain's famous sauce. I'm just gonna do this. Reserve a little bit more for later. So now they're nice and evenly coated. I am going to just place them on this sheet pan. We're gonna finish them in a 350-degree oven. I love the malt vinegar that is in the Henry Bain's recipe. A little bit of spice from the chili paste. Sweetness from the chutney. I mean, this sauce has everything in it. So, spread out on our tray, beautiful, nice and even, uniform. I didn't plan to make an even amount of meatballs, but, you know, look at that. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 meatballs. All right, in the oven, 350 degrees. Meatballs are in the oven, 350 degrees. They're gonna be in there about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the size of your meatball. If you're a little unsure if they're done or not, why don't you pull the largest one off the tray, put it on a cutting board, cut it in half, see if it's done. If it's done, the rest of them are done because they're a little bit smaller. If it's not quite done, leave them in there a little bit longer. Not gonna hurt anything. I wouldn't bake them more than 25 minutes though. So these meatballs have been in the oven at 350 degrees for about 15 minutes. They're done. I'm gonna put them back in the oven and broil them for 3 minutes. All right, these have been broiled for 3 minutes. It kind of caramelizes the top, browns it up a little bit. Now we're gonna go ahead and plate them. So a big part of the way I like to cook and eat is the presentation. So choose a nice platter that's gonna contrast these meatballs. We like this gray one. Now we have a lot to choose from. So don't stress about it, but we eat with our eyes first. You know, a lot of people say my phone eats first. They want to take a picture of it. You know, when you're putting these together, think about what it might look like when you bust your iPhone out and want to take a picture of it. So this is our Henry Bain meatball kit. You can buy the box. It's got all of our ingredients in there that you're gonna need to make this. Got our toothpicks here for passing. This is one of my secrets. You know, if they don't look perfect, you can cover up any imperfection on a plate with some parsley. So we dressed our meatballs with some Henry Bain's. Like, remember tossing them in that bowl before we baked them. So there's some Henry Bain's on there, but sometimes people like a little bit more. So we saved some, remember? Pour this in here. Got our toothpick. We're gonna stab, dip a little. That's a good meatball. All right, so finally, someone gifted me one of my own gift boxes. You can pick these up at our retail store in Crescent Hill, 2710, 2708 Frankfort Avenue. You can buy them on our website, bourbonbarrelfoods.com. Give a little bit of Louisville's food history this holiday season.